Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. Richard Audley is doing another Competent Communicator #2 speech, which is all about putting a structure on the speech which is easy to follow and which allows us to know where we are on the speech. And so from that point of view, I shall be looking this evening for a clear flow of ideas and some nice signposting to tell me just exactly where we are on this speech. And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Richard didn't look before he left. And he told the story of his early days in construction. He was helping to manage St Denson drain. His boss was doing the recording and Richard was holding the tape measure. And as he moved backwards, he didn't look where he was going. And suddenly, all his boss could see was the top of his head as he stepped into a manhole. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the title of your speech, Richard. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Is that how it's spelled? Beetlejuice. Please give a very warm welcome to Richard with his speech, Beetlejuice.
Excuse me a moment. Beetlejuice, a massive star. It's number 10 in the list of brightness. It is absolutely huge. It is in the Orion constellation. You know Orion? You can tell it. Got 3 little stars, put those together. Orion's belt. That's how to find it. Beetlejuice has a red glow to it. It is, like all stars, a long, long, long way away. 428 million light years away. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Happy New Year from me. Tonight, I'm not going to talk about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm going to talk about French polishing. And what do you think Beetlejuice has to do with that? I hear you think. I, as you know from my first speech, was a furniture restorer. And I often got that call, help, help, I've got this huge great white ring in the middle of my dining table. Are you a French polisher? Well, no, I'm not actually, but I can probably help you. I need to come and have a look at it. French polishing is one of those terms that we use quite loosely, or a lot of people do. And so tonight, I wanted to give you a little bit more information about it, so that you can understand what it is, how we use it, where it comes from, and all that sort of usual stuff. It's a natural product, which is rather nice. It comes from a material called shellac. And the shellac comes from the lac beetle. See where I'm getting to. The lac beetle lives in the trees, up in the top of the trees in the Indian subcontinent, in the banyan tree. I love that tree. And it exudes or secretes a gooey, sticky gum. A juice. Beetle juice. That material, I don't know how they worked out it was going to be rather useful for things like furniture, but it did, is harvested. They nip up the trees and they pull it all off, drop it down to the ground, and then process it. It's a lot of dead bodies in, actually, baby bugs. These bugs actually are about 1.25 millimeters long. It is tiny. It produces all this gum, and they then process it by sticking it into long, sausage-shaped tubes of fabric, hessian, something that's got some pores in it. And that is then squeezed over some heat. Traditionally, they would light a fire and they'd pull it and twist it and this, that, and the other. And this gum comes out on the outside and can then be scraped off. They collect it and they put it onto a big flat plate. It dries, and there you have it, shellac. Not very useful at this stage for French polishing. So they break it up and they turn it into flakes. Here it is, sort of cornflakes looking stuff, fairly transparent. Well, that too is not very useful for French polishing, is it? So they dissolve it. They dissolve it in industrial alcohol, methylated spirits. Not that mauve stuff that you buy down the chemist, a nice clear one. And it goes into a browny sort of liquid. Can you see that? Looks a bit like angel oil. Smells much nicer. Ever gone into a French polisher's workshop? Wonderful. So there we are. That's what it is. Beetle juice, dissolved in alcohol. We've then got to get it onto the furniture. And so you need a French polisher. And that is a highly skilled job. People take a long time to master it. Frankly, I have never mastered it. I'm rubbish at it. However, I can tell you a little bit more about it because you put it on with a rag. And you fold this thing up, a bit like a sort of paper plane thing. And you get some wadding and you put it into this little thing. And this is what you hold in your hand, and then you dip it in the polish, and then you gradually build up the layer of polish and finish on the wood by rubbing it slowly, very slowly. Now, I'm not sure if this is discontinuity, because it dries quite quickly, but you do have to let it go before you get on the next layer. So maybe the continuity comes out of it by building up all these layers. There's a mix there. Gradually, you've got several layers on it, and it produces a wonderful finish. And for tonight, I knocked one up. Here she is. The top bit has been polished, and that probably had some 20 or 30 coats on it to get it to that lovely layer. I saw a wonderful programme last week about Windsor Castle, and there was this chap with his rubber just going around the edge of the Duke of Edinburgh's table, getting it ready for when he comes back next week. And that tells us that actually it does need some attention. I don't think you really want a French polished table. It doesn't resist water, you get white rings. It doesn't resist alcohol, you get more white rings. It doesn't resist heat, it also gets white rings. And it does go a bit crackly if you leave it in the sunshine. Okay, so the Queen can have a wonderful table dressed up in it all, and that looks terrific. So, if you happen to get a lovely antique, it may need French polishing if you're down to, but most of us don't have that at home. So next time, if you get a little white ring, when you put your glass down beside your bed, on the cabinet there, you probably don't want a French polisher. But remember, it all came from beetle juice. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.